Hi, I'm Kaylee, and today I'm going to be reviewing Anne Radcliffe's The Romance of the Forest. In case you didn't know, Books for MKs is a charity that donates books to missionary kids all over the world. If you want to donate to the kids, you can do so at GoFundMe.com. There's a link down in the description, and there's a button at the end of this video. It's really easy to donate. It's just kind of click, and you put in how much you want to donate, $5, $10, however much it is. Every little bit is very much appreciated. So please click on over and donate to the kids. So I first heard about Anne Radcliffe while reading Jane Austen. There are a couple of places in Jane Austen's books where Anne Radcliffe's books are sort of made fun of, a little mocking in there from author to author. In Jane Austen's Emma, Harriet is reading The Romance of the Forest by Anne Radcliffe. And as soon as I found out that that's actually a real book that was really written, I've wanted to read it. But I actually read another Anne Radcliffe book first that Jane Austen mentions in Northanger Abbey. Catherine is reading The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe, and she gets all these ideas in her head about ghosts and murders and you know, because it's very Gothic melodrama. So Mysteries of Udolpho was the first Anne Radcliffe that I read, and so far that's actually been my favorite out of all of Anne Radcliffe's books. It is really kind of the birth of Gothic melodrama where everything goes wrong and there really are murderers and pirates around every corner and skeletons in every closet. So I've been steadily reading through any of Anne Radcliffe's books that I can get a hold of. She didn't really write that much. I want to say there's only 6 or 7, maybe 8 of her books. But the latest one that I have read is The Romance of the Forest. So let's finally just get into this review. Adeline is cast out by her father and finds shelter with her new friend, the Lamott family, who are on the run from the law. The family find a refuge in an old ruined abbey in the middle of the forest, where they hide away from prying eyes, always terrified that they're going to be found out and dragged away to debtor's prison. The rich marquis who owns the dilapidated abbey discovers them living on his land, but he inexplicably allows them to remain and makes a mysterious alliance with Mr. Lamott. Ghoulish skeletons, mysterious manuscripts, and gruesome secret rooms are pretty much just scattered all over the abbey. And of course, the dark forest holds secrets of its own. Finally, the friendly young gentleman, Theodore, comes along and he warns Adeline that her life is in danger. But then he's called away to his regiment before he can explain anything to her further. Adeline goes through every kind of disaster and terrifying mishap, and she flees for her life when she is betrayed by those that she trusted. I mean, this is Gothic melodrama at its very best. I lost count of how many times Adeline fainted, but it was at least every other chapter. I mean, it must have been more than 20 times. She dissolves into tears, is frozen with terror, collapses under the violence of her emotions. She, experiences the strain of horror. And of course, she is prostrate with grief, something like that in every single chapter. And of course, several other ladies, not to be outdone, also faint on several other occasions. And even the men are not above collapsing into a chair, overcome with emotion every once in a while. And everyone is constantly exclaiming, "Alas, woe is me." I'm not kidding you, they actually say that. That's an actual quote from the actual book. Alas, woe is me. Everything that can possibly go wrong for Adeline in the plot does go wrong. It is one catastrophe after another for the entire book. Look at me, I'm like smiling and laughing like, catastrophe, you guys, it's the best. But it really is. It's so terrible that it's funny. There are so many lucky coincidences and timely misfortunes that it actually just becomes funny. And then when the plot twist finally came around, it was so obvious that I didn't even bat an eye. Like a lot of classics, the writing is laboriously descriptive and really extravagant. I mean, it's peppered with pompous poetry that the characters recite, in emotional moments. Or sometimes they compose their own poetry to describe their situation. I just started skimming over the long descriptive passages and I skipped the poetry altogether. I was both charmed and really frustrated with Adeline. She's sweet and virtuous and adorable, but she's also pitiful and weak and spineless. She is intelligent, but unresourceful. I just wish that she would take action. I wish she would do something. There are only 2 scenes in this entire book where she actually gets up and does something without the help of a man. There's one chapter where she explores a secret passageway all by herself. And then later on in the book, there's a place where she jumps out of a window. And that's it in the whole book. She's the main character. And she only does those 2 things on her own. There were at least a dozen scenes when she could have taken more action. But she instead decided that, wringing her hands and composing poetry were the more prudent decisions. Even so, I did love her character. She is just charming and sweet. I really did like her. Despite the chaotic plot and the sensational melodrama, I really enjoyed reading this book. And it's so mournful that I really found it to be very funny. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. If you're a fan of Jane Austen, it is definitely worth the read. If anything, just because it gives you a lot of insight into Harriet's character. Because Harriet in Emma thinks that this is a wonderful book that she is recommending, to her beau. And I think she recommends it to Emma too. So, this is the sort of melodrama and fainting and all that sort of thing that Harriet just loves. And I love that about her character. I think she's sweet and adorable too. So please leave a comment down below if you've read any Anne Radcliffe, if you've read Jane Austen and you noticed those little, aside comments sort of mocking Anne Radcliffe's work. Or leave me a comment if you've read any of Anne Radcliffe and, or any other Gothic melodrama that you think is sort of comparable to this, where the ladies are constantly fainting and all that. And alas, woe is me. Leave me a comment and give me some recommendations for some of that classic Gothic melodrama. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching. And remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.